Hey guys, we are going to talk about some really fun stuff today. And I mean, I think that we might be the first outside of the actual person saying this that about this big news, right?
Yeah.
So, right, what is it? It's like lost artistry and it's Reb, you know.
Lash by Reb.
Lash by Reb. The Reb from Lashes by Reb.
Yes.
Rebekah Piccolo. They have joined forces.
So we're excited about that.
Wait, I haven't finished.
No, go.
Yes, they have joined forces, and they are going to be launched onto, you know, this national world stage of lash artistry, like doing amazing things together. Like this has never been seen before, and we're going to talk about it today
On the episode.
on the episode. And guess what, you guys? We have our first. We have our. You know what?
What?
I said to Paul, I said, I have an idea, let's do something. And he was like, go do it, make it as big as you want. And you know, since I'm not completely 100% yet, that's what I'm doing.
By the way, Tess is sick. This is why.
And it made sense in my head what I was saying, but it probably comes out like a crazy person now. But that's okay. You guys know me, you love me. Hopefully you love me. I love you. We're gonna have a really cool talk today because, you know, this is a podcast that I've been looking forward to for some time. Was I looking at the wrong camera?
That's okay.
And you guys, it's Lashes by Reb. Rebekah Piccolo, she is here with us. Welcome to the show, Rebekah.
I'm so honored to be here. That was the best introduction ever.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just so honored. I'm so honored to be here.
No, we met Rebekah about a little less than a year ago. It was March of 2024. And actually, it was, I forget who it was now. I think it might have been Christine Petrin, or there was someone else there that said, Paul, there's a few people you have to meet. And it was at a conference. And I was like, okay. And it was before we got to LashCon, actually, because I'm always asking people, like, who are you following? Who do you think is really cool, upcoming, new, fresh for industry? Because I've always felt like I'm kind of like a talent scout looking for new people.
It was. And we were like talent scouts. We actually snuck in the back seat when she's talking and watching her do her thing. And I'm like, oh, this girl's got it going on. And then later, I got to talk to your mother. I mean, I don't know if you know the story, but I was like talking to her and I'm like, I really think your daughter is like pretty amazing. She's very articulate. She's got a lot of stuff going on. And I thought that was cool to like connect with Mom, and that was cool.
No. So anyhow, we're excited to have you on, and really you've been doing some exciting things in the industry, and have been really what I like to do, causing a ruckus is a term that Seth Godin likes to put out there. And that's why you get recognized in the world, right? If you cause a ruckus, and that doesn't mean a bad thing. It just means you're making moves, right? You're doing things that other people aren't doing that are notable. And so we wanted to just kind of for people to pull back the curtain, get to know you a little bit. I know you're everywhere. I think it's like every year, there's always like a new person that becomes kind of like the it girl or the it guy, or it may as well just be generic, it person. And right now you're kind of doing that, and it's been cool. It's been fun to watch, and while I think we're just acquaintances right now, hopefully we'll get to know you better and get to see you and what you do in this industry, because it's exciting to see new people blow up. And it also, hopefully anyone listening can, maybe you'll be that next person. Maybe you'll be the next Reb, the next Kenzie, the next Dennis, the next person out there that's doing something that is notable. And so we'll hopefully pull that back, get to know that. And now, are we back to normal, by the way? Because that was the craziest opening I think I've ever seen.
I feel like I'm well enough to work because I worked yesterday, and then today I'm like fine, but like, I don't know. The peaks are very high and the lows are very low, and like the cognition is kind of like, I'm not sure if it's there.
It's almost like you're drunk. At least, I mean, you're never drunk, so I don't know what to compare it to. But that said, you're just like really kind of. It was fun. It was kind of fun to watch. So anyhow, this is the fun test that we have today. So I think she's excited because she really wanted to talk to you and all that.
I enjoyed seeing your posts and
her talk too. I remember being very impressed with that.
You're speaking my language. You're talking about things in a way that we're talking about, like lash styling. We're talking about analyzing a face and figuring out what that face needs. And I'm like, we need more of talk like this. We need more innovation. And I know that a lot of people out there might see lashes in a certain way. I use Rebekah as your inspiration. She kind of sees things a certain way and she talks about it. And
so before we get into all that, though, I don't want to get into the face shape and eye shape and all that right away. First, let's pull back. Let's get what we see today, like what you're doing. Let's go back and see first how long you've been lashing, what got you in lashing, why do you love lashing? You know, what got you into this whole industry?
Absolutely. Okay. Great question. So I started lashing in 2019. So when I took my course, I was actually a university student. I was studying early childhood education, specializing with children with learning disabilities. Yeah. So that was something I always had and have a passion for. So I was doing that in university, and I was actually
teaching helped you prepare as a teacher, right? And to help to educate and help people understand things, right?
Teaching in some way, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I was getting my lashes done, and this was in November of 2019. And my lash tech really spontaneously was like, hey, I'm doing a lash course next month. I'm running a sale. Do you want to join? And I'm a very spontaneous person. You might find this out as we get to know each other more. But at the end of the appointment, I had paid for my lashes as well as my down deposit for the course. I didn't even think about it. I just went for it. Yeah. And then my logic was, being a university student, this would be a really nice side hustle. I can make my own schedule while I'm in school kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, I get my certification. And then this was the end of the year 2019. So right when I got it, I had some major regrets. I was like, I don't really like lashing that much. Actually, way more difficult than I had anticipated. And then the pandemic hit. So all of that kind of went down, and I kind of used that as my practice period, and just a lot of self-discovery, a lot of niching down took place in this period. And I started to really study lashes in almost a selfish perspective. So I would get my lashes done, and then sometimes I would like how they turned out, and then sometimes I wouldn't be quite happy. And as a consumer, I really like to have predictable outcomes. So if I'm paying for something, I want to know exactly what it is I'm getting.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a pain point that I guess I saw with lashes.
So this is before you're really doing lashing. You're really breaking it down as a consumer, seeing it from the other side, as opposed to a lash artist who's just like, I'm just trying to play and think about this. You're really going, why do I like this or why I don't like this look that's on me right now?
Exactly. That was exactly it. Sometimes I would get my lashes done and I'd find my eyes look kind of droopy. And then sometimes I would get them done and they'd look very lifted and pretty. I just wasn't sure what the difference was. And alongside this, I was a very beginner lash tech, so I was kind of experimenting with clients.
Yeah.
So
I just want to validate that. I'm serious. When we had a staff, basically, and I was training the staff, I'd have everyone do my lashes, and it really pointed out to me that I needed to have consistency, and I needed to be able to explain, we have an Amber Alert or a Hurricane Alert, or what's that? Oh, it's an Amber Alert.
Okay.
Anyway.
Don't.
It's just vibrating everywhere.
Yes, okay.
And, so I'd look at my eyes, and I'd be like, I really can't stand what I'm seeing on my eye. How do I explain this? How do I map this out so that I can explain to the staff or, help them to understand when the client comes in what they're wanting. So I know exactly what you're doing. You're like, you're looking at your eye. You're like, I don't like it. I want to be able to tell the person what I want.
Yeah, and you made a really good point in the sense where communication between let's say I'm speaking to a lash tech and explaining this to a lash tech, that's totally different than communicating this to a client as well. Yeah. So that's a really good point you made.
Yeah.
I think it's super, it's hard with lashes because most people think, oh, it's just it's a line. And they think, oh, you just put them on your lashes. There's a line of lashes, and you don't quite understand. It's a 3-dimensional process. You know, a lot of us look at the lashes and we think, oh, I want, the client says I want length on the outer corner. And so what happens is, as the lash artist, you're looking at the client, you're like, okay, where's the outer corner? There's the outer corner, that's where I'm going to put the length on. And then the client walks up and their eyes completely droopy. You have to understand that anatomically it's not just a flat 2-dimensional picture, and there's consequences to putting length in certain areas. And that's kind of like one of the things that you've kind of specialized in explaining is your mapping. So
well, I think you have gone crazy, Rebekah, if you looked at the lash industry in 2007, 2008, when Tusk was still first started. Back in those days, everyone just did this really weird one-dimensional straight line. Like, there was no dimension to lashes at all. It was this flat line. Just make sure you get one lash in each. Not about rows. No one ever talked about rows.
There was no rows.
There were no rows. There was just like one lash here, then one more lash, one more lash, one more lash, and as long as you can get like 50 lashes in a row.
And there was pretty much only like one length and one curl. I mean, there was like a 0.25, which was
oh my
that's
God.
right. Yeah, they were trees on people's eyes.
It was not the same lash environment that we have now today.
It's changed drastically, and so and we'll get into that with you and how your approach is, because I think it's very intriguing. But
Thank you.
when you started, it was COVID, and you're in this lockdown, and you're learning. You're kind of teaching yourself. You're being your own instructor. It sounds like you're very self-aware, a little driven, because I think the average setting for most lash artists is just you get good enough and you're there. Like, that's it. You hit your ceiling pretty quick. No offense to it. I don't think our listeners, our smart cookies who listen to our podcast, you're not like that. We know that our people are very, very driven. That's why they listen to the podcast. They want to learn more. They want to grow more.
But your average lash artist just does enough to make the person happy, and like maybe have one or two looks in their
tricks in the bag, so to speak, right? So
they can do like one thing or a couple things.
But you did something more during that time. You really evaluated things. So COVID comes to a close.
Yes.
Do you start your own business at that point, or what happens from there?
Yeah. So right after, I want to say this is like summer of 2020. What I started doing is, the way my brain works is it's very analytical and like logical. So I created something called my formula sheet. So this is where I started to study like independently, just for fun, laws of symmetry, face studies, how certain like linear lines will connect, all those things. So that's where I created this formula sheet for me to practice on my clients. So an example of it would be like, this eye shape plus this eye plane plus this eye set looks optimal with this lash design. So I tried to kind of come up with some sort of like outcome that would be predictable for clients.
Yeah. It helped give you some guidelines, so when you show up, you're not just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do what I can do. Or worse, I think sometimes I'll just take this preset design that someone put online, and which I think, like Tusk does in her training. She was like, look, the same design looks different on, if you use the same lash, we call it, I can't think of the terms, the zone, what do you call it? The map, lash map. When you use the same lash map on different eyes, it looks very different on people. Like, you have someone who's like 65 and you do that lash map and you turn around and do it on a 25-year-old, you're not going to get the same look, and not just because of age, but because the eyes are different, like you say, shape, all those different things. So you really have to come up with some other, I guess, better guidelines, right? And that's what you did.
Exactly, like considering everything. And I also didn't really see too many people considering like the face shape and like how important that is with lashing. So I created this formula for me, myself, and I was using it on my clients, and I started to see like, some independent case studies, and it really like see through with that. Then I realized that I had such a passion for this particular niche, and I didn't really see it being too present in our industry. So from there, I started to create content. And also at this point on my social media, I had like less than 500 followers. I was a baby lash tech in the game for like maybe 2 years at this point, and I was just like really passionate about this particular niche. So fast forward, lots of like independent growth, all that stuff. I want to say 2023 in January, I had just graduated university, got my degree in education, and I told myself, you have 1 year to like really make something for yourself in this industry, and if you don't, like, you're gonna go back to school, you're gonna become a teacher, blah blah blah. So for that year, I really just kind of went full force with social media. In particular, I was posting 3 times a day, every day. I grew my social media in that year to just under 60K, and then going from like practically no following or community. Not that followers really, I don't really think they matter that much. It's really about like the kind of work and passion you have.
And then engagement, right? The people are actually really engaging with what you're doing.
For sure. For me, it just kind of showed that, hey, like people actually resonate with this, and you know, people actually enjoy this kind of content. So that's why I was like basing it on that numerical value. So yeah, from there, I really like kind of created my niche and really focused on collaboration. And now it's 2024. Or sorry, it's 2025.
No, it's 2025.
Oh my goodness. I can't keep track of years.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened in between the lines, but in summary, that was my story.
So 23 was your year to really blow up the gram, so to speak. And you got by 24, you had succeeded. You had gained a following. Was the idea like, I just want to be an influencer, or was there an idea where like how I want to monetize this? Because I know a lot of people, in fact, sadly, I knew someone in their industry is no longer here, and she was on our podcast like 4 years ago. She left actually during COVID, our industry, and she was amazing, and she was the first person ever to get to 100K organically, right? I mean, it was easier to get to 100K organically 5, 6, 7 years ago on Instagram than it is today.
Yeah.
Today, you could be killing it, and you'll be still growing at a slow rate because Instagram is not built the same way it used to. But she never made much money. She got 100K followers in our industry, and she burnt out. And there's other things that happened. She had some personal things that happened, and it was heartbreaking for our industry. She was a real blessing. But I could tell she burnt out and left it, because I think when you do that much work, you build a kind of following, and you don't make any money at it. That kind of sucks.
For sure, that's disheartening and like, motivating.
Did you have a plan in place when you started saying, I'm going to build this following and I'm going to monetize it? Because I think a lot of people come to me and they like say, hey, I'm going to start my own podcast. I'm like, that's great. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll ask, how are you going to make money? And they're like, do you make money on podcasts? I'm like, not directly, but I mean, yes, you can sell ads and all that. But you wanted to help be a funnel to something to where you make money. Otherwise, like every podcast I know that started, other than me, Shelby and Tara, we're kind of like the original 3, and we're still the only 3 that have been podcasting on a regular basis, and that's because we all monetize our podcast, and everyone else comes and goes.
For sure. And that's amazing. That's a huge accomplishment that you guys have, gotten to a point where you can monetize your podcast. That takes a lot of strategy. It's not easy to have a podcast.
No, it's not. It's a lot more work than people also realize too. But that said, for you,
sure.
When you thought about was there a game plan? Were you just kind of shooting and hoping something would work out?
That's a really great question. So when I first started this, I was 22 years old. So I had quite literal no knowledge on like what I wanted to do with it. I just knew that I had a passion for this particular niche within lash extensions. That's all I knew. So my focus when posting on social media, I'm not like in general a very money oriented person. Yes, like I know that making money is something that I know I'll always attract in life and I'll be able to attain, but it's not my primal focus. My focus is community and like helping others. So that's what my brand is hopefully built on. I want people to trust me. So when I started posting, I wanted people to kind of get a feel for my way of teaching, because personally, when I buy a course from someone, I want to know how they teach before I purchase a course, because I want to know if I relate to their teaching styles. Growing up, I always like struggled to learn. That's why I wanted to become a teacher. I've always been a very slow learner. Gathering things just took me a lot longer than the average. And I think it's my superpower because now I'm able to explain things at a really beginner's level.
Yeah.
So when teaching and posting on Instagram, my biggest priority was, okay, I want to break things down, this complex topic, into the super simple, attainable steps so that everyone, even a kindergarten student, could understand it. And then from there, money will come. I know it'll always come. It sounds kind of like hippie-ish, but like
no, it's true though.
we have a saying: do good work, and the money will follow. So
we're
right in line with that. Yeah.
For sure. I wasn't too like crazy focused on that. I knew that it was going to come in any way possible. And if anything, I just wanted a community that trusts me. I also had to have a product line that was helping me stay afloat as well during this. And then doing clients. And yeah, with progress and my ebook that went viral, that happened. But it did happen delayed. Like I didn't see any results for a good 8 months prior to.
Really?
Yeah.
So it took you 8 months of just going out there talking.
Yeah, no results. Okay. 8 months, I posted 3 videos a day, and I didn't get any sales for 3 months. I got my first sale on my ebook that I was working on for almost 2 years. And I got so excited. It was the best day ever. And then that one sale motivated me to just like keep going. And then it took 8 months until like the ebook actually started selling and people started to want to read it.
What was the reason for that? I mean, what do you feel like got your book to go from, okay, just another ebook? Because truth is, in our industry right now, our industry's kind of ebooked and coursed out, right? It's really gotten hard. I don't know many people selling online stuff that are killing it right now. Most of them are like, it's been a tough go. 24 was a tough year. What was it that got that book to go from no sales to like overnight? Was there anything you changed, or it's just mass amount of work and time that it finally just busted through?
Okay, I think I have 2 answers for that. So I firmly believe that your results right now in life are a reflection of your work 6 months ago. So what you were working on 6 months ago, right now it's like delayed almost results. So that's how I feel like I've noticed this pattern in my life. Like what I'm working on right now, I'll see the rewards of 6 months from now kind of thing.
It's true. It's kind of like what's in the pipeline. As an example, if you've ever taken a A1C blood test, what is A1C? It is a snapshot of your blood sugar for the past 3 months. So you take your A1C test, and it tells you where your blood sugar has been for the past 3 months. So
interesting.
It's a cumulative thing over time.
That's
what you're saying is the snapshot of right now is what you have been doing for the past 6 months. Kind of like your body. Like you present your body today is a snapshot of everything you've been doing, like really for the past.
You saying I have to work out for 6 months to get healthy?
I'm saying if you want to lose that Homer Simpson bod, although it is a hot Homer Simpson.
Oh yeah, it's very hot. Yeah, that's why. Anyhow, you said two answers for that.
So that's my first belief, and then my second belief is my marketing. I was figuring out how to do it. I had no experience with marketing, and I think that there's a way to be engaging on social media that hooks attention, but also not too salesy at the end of the day. So my approach is basically teach just the right amount of information on a post where someone's still curious and still seeking value and genuinely sees the value that you want to provide them with.
Yeah. So you kept trying, it sounds like, the messaging, you changed it over time. Like you started, let's say in 21 or 23, beginning of 23, you said, I'm going to do this videos, and you made some videos and no one's caring. And then you said, well, you were self-aware enough to go, well, if that's not working, I should change my approach. Yeah. And you changed. Like what, I mean, I now know your shtick, right? We see your thing, the way you come on, your energy, it's great, it's fun, the editing style. Did you start looking to others to get inspiration, to find people that you looked up to, said that's cool what she does or he does?
Or did you just create it yourself? Tell us your process.
Okay, so actually, one of the most common questions I get all the time is, how come you follow nobody on your social media? And it's to answer this question. I find that if I'm looking at other people's content all the time, like even if I'm not intentionally trying to steal content ideas, I find that I lack originality. So I actually purposely don't scroll on that account because I don't want to subconsciously copy someone else. My whole thing is like, okay, how am I going to be different? How even with how I present myself, like I usually put a lash, nap, sleeping mask. I'm like, I want something recognizable that's going to set my brand apart, and also I want to show up as my authentic self because I think my best asset is my personality. So I want to infuse that into my business somehow. So that was like moreover like how I get my content idea, but I'm always changing, I'm always learning. I don't have like a set in stone content thing that's always going to be in place. Like I always want to make it better if I can. Yeah.
That's really cool. I will just ask this because I had this in my question. Because your lash mask, nap, whatever it is they call it,
Lash
that
nap.
obviously has become iconic for you.
Oh.
So was that? When did that develop? Was that something that you felt like was a key marketing piece? Like you knew right away, like I need to have my own thing. So when if you were scrolling to the page, oh, that's Reb. Like you automatically know because all you see that. It just changes everything and changes it. Was that something that grew over time? Like, oh, I need to do something more. You know, how did that come about?
Okay, it's actually a funny story. I don't think I've ever told anyone this, but first time, guys. So I actually engineered that mask for 8 months before, and my whole purpose was I want this mask to form to your face the more you sleep with it, and it get more comfortable as well as be completely black out and protect your lashes. So I really believed in the mask, but I had it on the market. It wasn't selling because I wasn't advertising it. So one day I woke up and I had this like really big sty on my eye.
Oh no.
I know. And it was the worst. And it was content day. So I was like, oh, I have to bulk prep content and I have this big sty. So I was thinking that morning, I was like, what if I put it on one of my eyes? You know, I kind of look piratey. People are going to be like, what's going on? Generate a little curiosity. And then I ended up just not filming that day. I was like, I'm just going to film the next day, let my eye rest. And then the next day I'm like, ooh, what if I just put my mask on? Maybe, do you know who Alex Hermosi is?
No, I've heard the name, but I can't remember. Yeah, I've heard the name.
You've probably seen him on social media, but he's like a big business guy. I really recommend his books, but he sells these nose strips and he just wears them and he records.
Okay.
And I actually kind of took some inspiration from him because whenever I see his posts, I'm like, what's on his nose? Like, I'm curious. I kind of want one. So then I was like, oh, maybe I could do this with my lash naps. And then from there.
You go. I mean, it worked because I remember the first time I saw you, I was just before we met you because someone, like I said, someone said, hey, she's speaking at ILE and you should check her out beforehand because she's actually kicking ass. And like, okay. And then I remember looking and going, what is that? Because first off, those things aren't as popular as they used to be. Like they were really kind of a big deal. I feel like 10 years ago, maybe I saw a lot more of them being sold and pushed and all that. But so at first I was like, is that like a helmet? Like is she wearing goggles? Yeah, like goggles? Like maybe she's like a big skier?
No, we thought it was helmet. we like, I think it's a helmet.
Yeah, she's wearing. It's a dangerous world out there. You got to wear a helmet when you're going on Instagram.
Safe. Yeah.
Yeah, you might. You see. I need a helmet because I hit my head more now because I'm bald. I don't know what happens when you don't have hair. But she says, "Well, why do you always hit your head?" I'm like, I don't know.
That's so funny.
A scab on top of his head.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have this ugly. When I'm another 10, 20 years, no one's gonna look at my head. I'm gonna just have to wear.
You do not have to be bald. In this day and age, you can get hair. We've tried it before.
It was right. Actually, it's before we went to ILE. We went to IBS, and I got hair.
Nobody
it was horrible.
has to be bald anymore. You can have hair.
I choose baldness.
No, I think we should do the
bold
hair
and
again.
bald is what I like to say. Anyhow, but that said, so that's really cool. I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's about an image too, right? You want to have ways you speak, the way you act. Of course, be authentic. And I think this for you was not like, I don't know, I would never wear this mask, but doing it for Instagram just so people like, it was something that was a product that you had, and it was something that was just very innate and natural for you. Were there any other things that once you did that and you got known for that, where you're like, oh, I get it, now I need to keep working on my branding, so to speak, and my image? Is there other things that you're tried and go, that's kind of lame, or you want to do, or I've added that maybe I'm not paying attention? You're like, I do this all the time, don't you notice?
No. That's a really good question. I feel like, I don't know, every day I'm learning. Like I don't really know what's going on half the time with business. Like I always feel like I'm just figuring out day by day what I'm doing. And I always notice like certain things I'm like, oh, this is going to do so well. This piece of content's going to go viral, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll, put all this time into it and then it flops. But I feel like that's part of just learning and experimenting and seeing what works for you.
And then when you find something, is it almost like you have like, obviously for lashes, you've kind of wrote a book that said, this is how I approach lashing and how I analyze the face and all that. Are you doing that same approach when it comes to your Instagram, your social media? Or you're like, yeah, I'm actually kind of creating my own best practice for how I show up online and how I do things. Is that the same kind of process at work there?
The same as in like...
Develop your best practices, I guess, for Instagram or social media. Like how do you show up, how you communicate, how you edit, all those type of things.
Absolutely. That's a really good question. So I have like a strategy that I actually go over with every piece of content, like breaking the video down into like a hook, a content, and then a call to action always in the videos. And I find like sticking to that kind of like format, it really helps me connect to my audience more and also have a more productive video. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I think the hook in itself is super important when you're watching a video. The first thing someone says, because that's going to capture attention. Yeah. But then you see a really good hook and then you click out of the video because you get bored right after someone says,
Content matters too, right? It's not just the hook is the key. It's the whole process.
The whole process, right? So I think just like paying attention to that is what I've been really focused on, and just staying like true to like my values and beliefs and not trying to be too salesy and just really, doing what I love and acknowledging that with time, like it'll be noticed. Because I really believe that hard and consistent, genuine actions never go unnoticed, no matter how hard and like you try. Like it's always going to be recognized.
Yeah.
I know somebody that has noticed your efforts, and I think it has culminated in a collaboration of sorts.
We talked. Yeah, you mentioned it.
Yes, again. Yeah. So can you give us the tea on your new relationship with Lost Artistry?
Yes, absolutely. So Caitlin she always will have the largest soft spot in my heart, because I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago, I messaged her because she lives about an hour ferry ride from me. I messaged her on Instagram when I was just a baby, and I was like, hey, do you think you could do my lashes? I was just taking a bold shot.
Oh, that's cool.
And then she gave me the warmest, kindest response ever. If anyone's messaged her, they've probably received one of her kind voice memos back. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we should collab too. I see you do lashes, blah, blah, blah. She was just so eager to collaborate with like me not really offering her anything in return, her just being a kind person. So that in itself, like, I always told myself, like, if I were to work with a brand seriously, it would be Lost Artistry, just because moralistically I align so much with that. And anyway, so that's how we met. And then we just really kept in touch. I would go down there every like once or twice a year, see her. And then at LashCon, actually, she came up to me with her husband. We went out for dinner, and they were just kind of exploring ways that I could join Lost Artistry but still kind of have the liberty and independence to still run lashes by Reb. Because I kind of had in my mind, I don't want to be tied down to any brand. I really want to just like be open and explore. And we kind of came up with the perfect relationship in the sense where I still have the liberty to collaborate, including Lost Artistry within those collaborations. and also joining their team to do something I'm passionate about, which is traveling. So I'm going to be their travel educator, which I'm so grateful for, and also like joining some other roles on their team, doing a lot of YouTube things, but we're still kind of discovering my roles like to be concreted because we're just starting like right now.
Literally the announcement just happened, and so for you it's just probably finding what your strengths are and where their weaknesses are and how you can add value, and also maybe you go, I don't really want to do that. I mean, I know some other brands who've hired people and their roles have changed over time as once they get a little more embedded, they're like, you know what, you're really too good at this. Why don't you take more of this now instead of that? And so for you, but education and content creation, I guess, are kind of like the two tent poles for now.
And that's something I appreciate with Caitlin too, is because every single person that works for them, they allow to work in their like specialty. So she saw my strengths and she wanted me to work using my strengths within Lost Artistry. She wasn't putting me, in a position that I maybe wouldn't flourish in as well.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I'm excited about it. I think it's a great partnership. We love Caitlin and everything that she's been doing. She's built an amazing brand, and I know that they are also extremely giving people and have really supported our industry. If you haven't been following Lost Artistry, they really probably have the best YouTube channel in our industry, and you should definitely check them out. And now you'll be seeing Reb on it, which is going to be great. So you'll get even more added value as they continue to grow their brand and help people out. I thought it would be really kind of cool to talk about, we'll talk about a couple of things. I'd love to talk about how you felt you went out and maybe, I would say this last 6 months, I've seen you really doing a lot of traveling and engaging with a lot of influencers and other people in the industry. I'd like to talk about that, but before that, I really thought it'd be fun, because I know this is more Tuss's thing, is about the face shape, all that stuff. Like, how did that whole thing become your shtick? Like, that's your thing. And say it's just a shtick. That sounds like it's a gimmick. It's more than a shtick. It's really your essence of who you are and your passion. And I think it's really interesting what you do. How did you decide to take that from just something that you do for yourself, so I want to teach others and educate others through Instagram, where do you, I guess, how do you build all that out? It's just a very unique, because no one else does what you do. I mean, there's very, very few people that have ever covered this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you also, like, what tools that you use for that.
Oh, such a good question. Okay, so coming about it, we kind of discussed like my learning process of like how I learned this information. Afterwards, it was more over like presenting this information to be attractive to a consumer, and also presenting it in a way where the consumer feels like they need this information in order to level up their business. So again, it came with some strategy, but it was really organic to me in the sense where I was like, okay, how can I break down this information in the easiest way possible after releasing this book? So I started a series on case studies. So I would ask my audience to send me a photo of themselves, and then I would measure out all their features, present my alarm, present them a digital mock-up of their lash design, and I'll get into tools and stuff after. And then from there, I get more followers and people being like, hey, do me. And I, for the longest time, offered this service for free to just kind of build a community and like really showcase my work. And it was also advertising my ebook, which was a bonus. So that's kind of how I went about like presenting it. And then tools that I used, super easy. So to draw like measurements, mock-ups, I just used the Photos app on iPhone.
Okay.
And I use the toolbox settings. So it comes with a ruler, pens, shapes, so it's so easy to use.
Yeah. And
then as for drawing the mock-up, Lost Artistry actually just came out with their digital brushes, which is life-changing for me, because I used to draw each
hair and all that,
Now they have like maps that you can manipulate and then you can draw on top of it. It's so cool. It's on Procreate. They're really helpful.
I thought maybe you were using Maven's face tools.
Because she has a similar software that she used to do the same thing.
I actually used Mavens before I started working with Lost Artistry, and they're fantastic as well. Like, really helped me formulate and draw out the designs. So good.
Well, I think it's really cool that you basically took very common tools, right? I think a lot of people think they need to have this huge high-tech, like I need 80 different apps to do this, and I need to have Facetune and blah, 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 CapCut, blah, blah, and go through all this. And you're like, no, actually, I just went on and used the iPhone app, the standard app that's there, and used the drawing features, which shows you that I think some people are always looking for excuses why they won't do something. Well, I just don't have the technical knowledge. I don't know. I don't have the right apps. I don't have time to learn that. It's like, if you want to do it, you can just start often with just what you have. You don't have to go spend $10,000 on new equipment and new tools. Yeah. You can just start now with the very basics, and you can always YouTube it. You always type in how to edit, how to draw images on photos. I'm sure there's someone out there, good graces of their heart, decided to create a little tutorial on how to do that. And usually they're 5 minutes or less, right? They're not like, well, here's the 18-hour video series you have to watch on how to do this. It's not going to take you that type of work. And so I'm glad you didn't use that as an excuse not to do it. You said, I'm just going to start doing it. And I'm guessing you probably tweaked it along the way, right? It probably started a little bit this way, and then it moved and evolved, right?
For the longest time too, like I was doing all these, I didn't have an iPad, and I was doing all these measurements on my phone, which is itty bitty.
It's
like
really hard,
So I actually told myself, I was like, you know what, I can make this work. Like once I sell X amount of ebooks, like I'll treat myself to an iPad and I'll make life easier, which I highly suggest doing earlier.
Yeah.
It was so unnecessary to do all that, but I had like no materials starting out with. I wrote the book with like zero funds into it. I made it on Canva. And another thing is, like, most of my videos that made me the most income, I filmed like literally in my bathroom with lighting and like my phone this close to my face. Like I had no materials that I invested in prior to making money. Yeah,
you were very comfortable phone right in your face. That was one thing about your videos that made you stand out again too, as opposed to like right now, here you can see more closely, but right now I'm like a mile away, it feels like, right? And there's less intimacy, right? You're a little further from your audience. It's like, okay, well, I don't know if they really love me. But now when you're like, hey, I'm here for you, it's different. I think people liked that, and I think that helped people connect with you a little bit more, just because of that intimacy that you would connect with them. And also, you just don't see that really much. Most people are like, they hang back a little bit, like they're scared of being bitten by their phone. By the way, how long did it take for you? Because I think some people are like, okay, I'd like to do more content. How long did it, when you first started, take for you to make one video? And did it get faster, or is it the same, or is it because you're doing more now, maybe you used to do? Does it take you longer?
Oh, that's a really good question. So in the beginning, I always like encourage people, if you have like 600 hours on your belt, just scroll to the bottom of my page and see how my content used to be made. I was not always confident in front of the camera, but in the beginning, it took me like super long. So let's say I was making like, I'd always bulk prep content, like make them back to back. So let's say I was making like 7 pieces of content. To film the video in itself, the 7 videos, it would take me almost like 6 to 8 hours. And then editing would take the whole next day because it was a new skill, right?
Yeah.
But now, like, I have a very organized strategy where I like write down everything Sunday night, like kind of script things. And then Monday I'll film like 14 videos in maybe an hour.
Wow.
And then,
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, super, super quick. And then I'll allocate the editing to my editor. So it's made the structure's pretty streamlined. Like it's super easy now.
So you spend a couple hours on Sunday kind of writing out ideas, an hour shooting, and then at this point you actually hired someone to edit. Is that someone like a friend, or did you go online? How did you find someone to edit your videos for you?
Yeah, so actually it's a friend. So it's my videographer and editor, and he was actually a student when I started working with him. I started working with him right after I released my asymmetry ebook. And I was just like, wow, he's so talented. He's a student. He just wanted to get some experience, and we just started working together. And now he's doing it. Yeah.
How long now? So if you give him a lot of content Monday afternoon, does he get stuff done in like a day or two, or
Oh
how
my
quickly?
goodness. His turnaround rate's insane. Like he's always so quick. Also, if anyone wants to use him, I think let me get his Instagram handle. It's Vasc Media, VASC MEDIA. I want to double check.
That's cool.
But he's taking new clients right now, but he's super talented.
Wow, so he is kind of becoming a specialty, helping YouTubers or video Instagram people and all that to create their content, prep it and all that. Does he do long form and short form, or is it really specialized for short form?
He does it all. Yeah.
Okay.
He does like every niche, every kind of video. Like he's really talented. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, that's exciting because I don't think people realize that you don't have to do everything. I mean, you obviously have to get revenue going. Like we have an editor that helps us with the audio portion of our podcast. Right now we're currently relying on this new tool we're using, Riverside, to edit and do it with AI actually.
Cool.
Yeah, so it kind of automates the process when we do clips and stuff like that. So it's a little bit learning curve, and sometimes it really messes up. But we're just playing with it, and we'll figure it out. And if we have to get an editor at some point, we will. But AI is definitely been a wonderful, wonderful tool that helps us.
Fantastic.
So. Okay, so you, maybe, I don't know if you have any questions more about the face studies and all that, because I know that is more your passion, because we get nerdy about tech, and Tessa's like, oh, we're going to talk about tech, I don't care. But whenever, and then we switch places, I'm like, hey, let's talk about lash extensions.
Well, I'm curious, how do I phrase this? You know, when you are, let's say, putting lashes on a photo of the look that you want. Although it's painstaking to write the little lashes on, there's a certain step or a je ne sais quoi about the actual map that you're using on the client and what is being picked up in the photograph. What I mean is that I'm on lots of forums about lashes, and sometimes people will be like, how do I map this face? And somebody will, either draw on the lashes the way it should look, which is great. And that they might take that image to their lash person, but the magic is in the actual formula of the lashes being put onto the person. How do you ensure that they're going to match?
That's a really good question. So I actually offer this as a service. So I have a 15-page lash report that I offer. So if someone wants the full in-depth vibe, it comes with instructions for their lash tech, as well as instructions for them to recreate it if they were using DIY lashes. So I kind of just go over absolutely everything, and I get them to send very specific photo requirements so that I can accurately measure everything. But I also have like a lot of, disclaimers in certain sections for like maybe lengths not being completely accurate, because as you know, like let's say someone's gazing directly at the camera versus they're looking up a little bit, it's going to manipulate this distance. So one of the biggest things that I find hard to measure fully digitally is this distance, or little minor things like that. So I will disclaim within that report, the things to be aware of. And I also have like support for the lash tech to reach out to me directly if they need any help recreating that map.
Now, have you had lash artists that have, unsuspecting, all of a sudden the client's like shows up with this 15-page report and they're like, what is this? I've never seen this. Have you ever had anybody, come back to you and be like, what are you doing?
Right? I always find like I never want to overstep or be someone, telling a lash tech to do something. But the way I'm more reviewing it is like assistance and help for the client to like get exactly it is what they want. And also for the lash tech, they can really see everything laid out and there's clear instruction for them. And who's to say that Lash Tech has to do that? I mean, if a client comes to them and they give them this report and they're like, I don't want to do that, by all means, you're running your business how you'd like to run your business.
Well, what kind of feedback have you got from other lash artists that have like seen the report? Have they been like, thank you? Have they been like, this is amazing? Have they contacted you? Have they bought your service? I mean, like, or they like, go away, you should burn on the stake. I mean,
I've had like really great feedback. Most lash techs are like, thank you so much for making this so clear. And like, I've had a few questions and inquiries about like certain things in the report that I just help them with. And most people actually end up purchasing the Symmetry Lash Extension Guide because they find that so helpful and they want to start doing this and offering it for their clients.
Wow, so consumers are helping you get basically sell product to your lash artists.
I guess, like not intentionally, but yeah.
That's great.
That's really cool. Now,
Good for you.
and I think what you're doing is, again, when people are trying to break out and they're like, oh, I really wish I could be like Reb, or I could be like Kenzie, or I could be like, name any of your influencers out there, and Jamie at Lash Base. You gotta find your own voice, right? You gotta find your own new thing that you can provide. If you're just gonna copy, and I think it's smart, Reb, what you say, like, I don't really pay attention to a lot of the people because I'm afraid it's gonna influence me or make me just look like a copycat. I mean, you probably at times are similar to other people just by sheer, you're just very smart and other people are smart and you guys have good ideas, but you still have your own unique style. There's really very few people I've seen like you in our industry, and I think it's why you stand out. And I think for everyone else who's like, oh, I'm just going to copy Reb now and do my own thing, I don't think you're going to have the same results. You're going to find yourself kind of going, well, this has been done before. And so that's why you succeed, and I think it's really, really cool. One of the things I thought was interesting that I've seen over the last, I don't know when you started this, but I just call it my in-house observation, the Reb tour. Like you just started popping up all over the place with people in the industry, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know she knew her. How did she get to meet her? Like, how did that all work out? First, I guess what was your idea behind that? And was it always like, oh, I'm just gonna DM someone, say, hey, I'm going to be coming down to see you. Are you cool with me filming and talking to you? Like, how did that all develop?
That's such a good question. So again, like I said prior, like I'm very spontaneous. So I really like a lot of these things just happen like really out of the blue. Yeah. But in early fall or maybe late summer, I got a message from Lash God, Raquel, who is like one of the most incredible people I've ever met. If anyone hasn't met her, oh my goodness, you're in for a treat. She's super cool. And I actually flew out to Toronto when I was a beginner tech to take their course at their headquarters as well.
I think that's why I think you were in Toronto, because I know she's in Toronto, and I just assumed that you guys were neighbors or something like that.
Yeah. So Rack is like actually one of my business partners, so I fly out to Toronto quite frequently because we teach our speed lashing course together at her salon, and it's a super quick flight for me. Yeah. But anyways, she reached out and she wanted to create a course together combining my consultation strategy as well as like this term of speed lashing. Like, how can we make a lash set go by quicker but also not sacrifice any quality? So that was kind of our, I guess, mission behind that. So that's how I connected with her. She flew out to me, we recorded this course together here in Vancouver, and then I flew out back to her and we created a bunch of marketing materials and hosted it in person as well. And then before that happened, sorry, I'm getting a little mixed up. I went to New Jersey to train a salon called Blink Salon, and I trained them to do basically my strategy to measure out their sets, do the full consultation thing. And then I went to New York because I reached out to the course, and I honestly just wanted to meet her to have a coffee. I had no idea she was going to ask me to be a speaker at her conference, and that just like made me so happy. Yeah. Pat
and Steph are two of our favorite people in the world. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you know, but Pat does all of our graphics for Lash God. So
that's right. She told me she does all the design, and that is so incredible. It's so beautiful. Does such a fantastic job. Yeah. I love like seeing the collaboration too. So yeah, we just met for coffee, and that was super cool. And then after that, I was about 3 hours from Miami, and fun fact, my friend, like my best friend, she's a food influencer. So most of the
Okay.
time when I travel, she comes with me because she just
Oh,
goes to like
fun.
local restaurants.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Hey, there's a spot I really need to go to in Miami to like try this food." And then I was like, "Okay, the only way I'm gonna come with you is if I message Lash Makers and she responds and she's like down to meet up with me."
Yeah.
And then I messaged her, she was down, and then we went there. And then, yeah, I just really see value in collaboration and meeting up with people in our community.
That's really cool. I mean, I think a
Thanks.
lot of people be scared to do that.
People are scared to ask.
Yeah, they are. And Tuss has a saying. It's
Asking's free.
Yes.
I tell my kids,
For sure.
asking free, trying on is free, and dreaming is free.
yes.
Amen. I love that.
And
That's so
as Tuss
beautiful.
would say, I'm the killer of dreams
You are.
sometimes.
You can't ask.
No, this is where Tuss has no fear. Like, we were just at a networking event,
Yeah.
actually in Miami of all places last
Oh,
week.
so cool.
And Tuss literally will go up to anyone. She's like, "Hey, girl," and she's like, "Love this." And the thing is, she's totally authentic. She's not playing a game, not being lame. I'm just not that type of person. I just don't walk up to strangers and go, "Hey, girl, you look great." Actually, probably they think I'm hitting on them, but still, I'm always impressed by Tuss and that freedom that she has
For
and
sure.
confidence. You're looking at my forehead, aren't you? Yeah. So yeah, well, we've talked about this before. We don't need to do it again. But anyhow, so I just think it's very cool
Amazing.
that you just, you know what's the worst they'll say is no, right? That's the worst, and then you
100%.
move on. And then, of course, it's not like, I know Elena's not going to meet with just anyone who calls her every day and say, "Hey, let's meet up." I'm sure she's selective, and I know most influencers and people I know in the industry are. But you never know until you try. And if
You never know,
and-
right?
Yeah, and maybe 2 say no, but 3 say yes.
For sure.
And I actually, when I was my prior life, I was in the film industry, and one of my
Oh.
good friends who was an editor, he would actually call up famous editors, like Academy Award-winning editors, and would say, "Can I take you out for coffee?" And he'd be like, I just want to get to know you and hear your story and how you got to where you're at." Almost every time he did, they said yes. Because
Incredible, yeah.
everyone wants to talk about themselves. I mean, it's one of the reasons why people come on our podcast. This is not to say anything to diminish you, but you're like, "Oh my gosh, I could be on a podcast and talk." Yes, I'll do that. Like, it's a chance for you to shine, a chance for people to understand you, to be let you be seen. And Tuss loves, and this is one of the magics I think behind LashCon is Tusney always says how we can make sure that everyone's seen at LashCon. How can we make everyone felt appreciated, seen, and all that? And that's what my friend did with these editors. He would reach out to them, and they'd be like, "You want to take me out to coffee and hear about my life?" Absolutely. No one cares about editors in Hollywood, so they would take those moments. And I think you'd be surprised, even in the Lash industry, there might be people you look up to, you think are really cool, and you're like, "Man, I really would be neat to be able to sit down with them for an hour and learn from them." And
For sure.
and you know, you might be surprised, that people will say
Absolutely.
yes to that. So good for you.
I love that. And you're so right. Like, you never know when you put yourself out there and you make people feel important and heard. It's a rarity to, like, find someone that's, like, willing to listen to you and hear about your story and all that stuff. So when you do, it's really valuable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, we're almost here. It's amazing. We're at an hour. Time flies. So,
Oh, wow.
one or two more questions. I was thinking, if you were to start all over again, for you, it's crazy how far you've come in just a few years.
Aw.
What would you tell yourself? Like, what piece of advice would you give yourself going, "Okay, I'm about to start this career, this new direction in my life." What would you tell yourself that you probably would change and do a little differently?
I think I would say tell myself to have a little bit more belief in myself, like have this like undeniable belief in yourself, and when things don't go your way, it's for a better reason that you can't see right now.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
probably say something along those lines.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, because I bet you, and maybe this will be the last question, what hasn't worked? Like, there's in these last few years where you've come up with an idea and like, "Oh my gosh, let's do this. I'm going to do this. We're going to go online. It's going to be big. This is going to be my biggest thing. It's going to be bigger than my ebook," and it just nothing happened. Or I mean, maybe this hasn't happened to you, but
No, for sure. I mean, full transparency. I released my symmetry ebook, and then afterwards I released a ebook on asymmetry, which I thought was even better than my symmetry ebook. I'm like, this is gonna go far. This is gonna groundbreak the industry. And I've barely sold copies of that ebook, and I've probably put double the time into it.
Wow.
But alongside that, I also haven't really marketed it. I'm like kind of at a roadblock of how to market it, and really questioning, like, is this something that like people want? Like, do people care as much as I do about this?
I think that would be super helpful if you marketed it in a way of like solving the problems, because a lot of people don't understand that the asymmetry problem, if you don't identify it before the appointment starts, you're going to have a problem. And a lot of people don't understand that they might not be lashing long enough. So if you could market it from the point of preventing problems, you know, helping your future self, because you have to be trained to look for a ptosis in one eye and not on the other. You have to look for an eye that doesn't close all the way, or there's anatomical difference. And unless you've actually seen that before and done the work, and then you're like, she opens up her eyes and she's, you know, oh my gosh, I made Quasimodo. And you're like, what did I do? I did them exactly the same. There's the problem. You did them exactly the same, but the eyes are different. So people who've never encountered that don't know. So if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to solve your future problems, you better pay attention to this, or you're going to have problems. You might do a little bit better.
That's a really good idea. Thank you. I like that. Like, kind of solving the problem
ahead of time. Yeah,
I really like that.
Well, I hope hopefully our listeners will check it out. We'll definitely put links to your information so that people can, because obviously you are doing something really unique. I mean, I think there's like you and Maven are the two people really talking about design and face shape and how you approach it and how you solve problems and so forth. So I think you guys have a unique voice in that sense, and you guys are both really, you can't learn too much, right? So definitely go check it out and look at your stuff. So to wrap it all up, where can people find you, and where can they go and get more information about some of the stuff we talked about?
For sure. So my biggest platform is Instagram. So it's lashes by Reb _. I'm also on TikTok and YouTube with the same handle. You can see me a lot more on the Lost Artistry site. I'm going to be one of their trainers, and we have 2 trainings coming up. One in Toronto, it's on April 13th.
All right.
And then one in Vancouver. Actually, let me get that date. I believe it's June 8th, but let me double check here. One in Vancouver on June 8th, and one as well in British Columbia on March 29th. So those would be our next.
Much quicker, yeah. Somewhat. Vancouver or British Columbia. Where is that? The Vancouver area, or
that one's gonna be Vancouver Island for March 29th.
Okay.
And then the one on June 8th is Vancouver.
Cool. No, it's actually, for me, I haven't been up there since I was in my teenage years, but so back in the 70s, we used to go to Canada all the time, and we love, I think it's some of the most beautiful country in the world. It's actually Victoria, absolutely stunning. If you like a European looking kind of area, it's amazing up there. So
it's very pretty, hey? Well, you guys gotta come back.
Yeah. We'll have to come back one day. Come and see all you guys, because there's actually quite a community, Lash community up there. So it's very cool. Yes.
Yeah, A.
So awesome. Well, thank you, Reb, for coming on. Thanks for taking time to be part of our show, and hopefully people who have not been following her, definitely go check her out, because she is definitely one of the shining stars in our industry.
She's smart cookie.
And she's speaking like at every conference this year, it feels like. So we'll see her at the course. We're actually the host, so we'll be introducing Reb to the audience, so that will be fun. And I know she's got many other gigs and Lost Artistry and all that. So congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
Wish you the very
appreciate
best.
That. Thank you so much for hosting me. Everything. This has been such a pleasure, such a great conversation. I really look up to you guys, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
The feeling is mutual, sweetie.
Aww, thank you.